Hello and welcome back to Refractions. I am Stephen Mallon, and I am so happy that I am speaking to photo enthusiast and collector and professional and curator W.M. Hunt, who is known to his friends and colleagues as Bill. So, Bill, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
It's really exciting. So yeah, so I wanted to dive in a little bit to your passion and drive for photography. So what got you started collecting?
What got me started
Yeah.
was that you buy one uh, for there are different answers. One answer is the voices. The voices just came to me one day and they said, "Go buy photographs." So that's really as good as any. What happens is that I bought a photograph one day for I was curious. I bought a photograph. I had an idea. I had a very specific idea from the beginning of what kind of photograph I wanted, which was a romantic photograph of probably a woman somehow not engaged with the photographer, like with a somehow covered a veil or something. Anyway, I went to, I think, Christie's. I always get this screwed up and have to look it up. And there was an auction, and I was an actor and didn't have any money, and managed to buy an Imogen Cunningham for $325 or so. And it was a completely intense, weird experience because I took it home. First off, I go like, "You don't have any money. What are you doing? This is just insane." And then you go home and you put it out in your. I mean, I didn't know where you paid for it. I didn't know what anything at all. Anyway, I took it home. It was great. I loved it. And then I said, "Oh, maybe I can do that again." Then I went to the old Marlborough Gallery, and I bought me an Irving pen. I didn't fool around. I bought an Irving pen and a Brassai, and that pretty much tied up my funds for a while. But when I didn't know anything and was just going by my instinct, I knew everything. That's I think the lesson as a collector has been how do you swim back upstream to what when you didn't know anything? You were just going by your guts and feeling, and that's you lose. You don't want to lose touch with that because that can be a good guide.
And is that what has been driving you since? Is trying to get back to that?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I find the whole there's my favorite question that I ever got as a collector was from like a 14-year-old kid boy who was looking at a show that I'd put together, and he said, "Why do you have to own them?" And I thought, "Oh no, wow, that is a good one." And the answer was, "Because then they're mine." So it was this completely covetous uh, idea. You got then they're mine, and I know this from other collectors. They don't really need to see them. They just need to have them somewhere so that this little mental file of what they've got, they go like. And now I have like way more pictures than I ever would have imagined. My new fantasy has been someone stopped me at Lincoln Center the other day and they go, "You're Hunt, right? You're Hunt, photo collector." And I go like, "Yeah, that's me." And I was in I guess, a really chatty mood. And somehow I got to telling him about my newest fantasy, which is that you had to jump off a boat and you're in the water and you're treading water. And they go, "Do you want your stuff?" And the answer is like, "No, because then I'll drown." "No, no, no. Just keep the stuff on the boat. We'll be fine." So I'm in the deaccessioning phase now, which is uh, uh, buy one, get rid of two, or something like that. Try that. It's very hard to deaccession a collection because it turns out that nobody really wants it.
So were you trying to offload like your entire collection at once and you weren't finding?
I didn't really try to do that because I thought that wasn't realistic, but I did. There have been a couple sales, and I have given a lot of stuff to the Addison Gallery at Andover, in Andover, Massachusetts, which was a boarding school I went to. And the only decent thing about that experience of going to boarding school was that museum, which was like this safe place where they wouldn't yell at you. But they have a really good photo history, and they've got two really wonderful people there, the director and now the director of photography, who treat me great. They honor the things I've given them. They put them up. They know what they're looking at. They know what to ask for, and it's delightful.
So
And actually, people come over to the house now, and if they if they like something, sometimes I just give it to them and go like, just get it out of here. So that's, you don't have to tell everybody, but I guess, yeah, I hope everybody listens to your podcast and calls me up and goes like, I want to come over.
be careful what you wish for.
So okay, so we'll explain. There have been two collections. There was a collection that I built over many years that they have names. Collection Dancing Bear, which consists of magical, heart-stopping images of people in which you do not see their eyes because they're somehow obscured or veiled, or that's the first collection. And then about 20 years ago, I guess, so I've been doing this like 40 years, 45 years, so a long time. And the newer collection is called Collection Blind Pirate. And those are pictures of American groups, clubs, rallies, mobs, stuff like that. So that's newer, and that one I do add to, and that's fun because they're all vernacular, and it's not important who made it; it's just the picture that's important. So
That was the show that I think I saw that maybe when ICP was like in between spaces and they did it at the
they weren't really. They had to deal with an office building on 51st and 6th Avenue, the UBS building.
yeah, their gallery.
UBS, UPS. God.
UBS. It was
Anyway,
UBS.
so it was the office building lobby, and it was fun. It was great. I love doing shows. I think doing anything you can do to spread the word about the pleasure of photography, I like doing that.
Nice.
It was a very awkward space at best, and I thought I did a pretty good job of harnessing the stray space. I sent one of my students to it to check it out for me, and he calls me from the space and says, "Oh, it was I got it." She called me and said, "I'm there," and she says it's mostly people on their cell phones in the lobby of this building. It just was a place people went through. There was no reason to linger until I did the show there, and then they lingered. And I really was happy to do that show because a big public audience wasn't just people going to see, it was people going to offices. It wasn't just people driven to go to the ICP.
Yep.
So thank you for seeing it.
Oh, I was very happy. I loved it.
Remember anything in it?
Well, I think there was one of the photographs from the maybe from Brooklyn of the one of the gatherings of like the Orthodox Jews. Wasn't that in there?
I have no idea. Maybe. Sure.
Maybe.
Why not? Why not? Yeah, I don't have a lot of when I was, it's funny in the house right now, in the apartment, I have all these banquet style photographs of people in dining rooms and hotel ballrooms. And it's a really specific, it's a real specific taste, like in these pictures. I figure nobody likes them, so they're not very expensive. And they're they're really so artfully done. The crafting of them, the technique, and I've been looking at them. The focus is killer. These photographers just find this like focus point, and everybody they get. Americans know how to be in a photograph. I do. That's really something in our culture, so that when the guy says freeze, everybody looks at the camera, and it's this capture of this collective energy in one moment. And I have there's a historical arc to it. Some of the early ones. There's a great Jewish wedding one that I quite like because and it even looks like the oldest one because it's got a little sepia working into it. But these pictures are so pro for things that aren't in the marketplace because they're just dismissed as too specific. You know, who wants the Shell Oil Convention from 1915 in Atlantic City? I do. So, and I put them all up. I had a birthday party for myself in October, and I hung everything. I didn't hang everything, but I rehung the parts of the collection, and I put all these banquet pictures, and it looks good.
How
And
do you find them?
my partner just walks around moping about how torn up all the walls.
Too many holes.
What?
You put too many holes in the wall because you put all of the images up.
Yes, it's okay. He'll survive, I believe.
So how do you go about finding these like obscure group photographs from like the Shell, office reunion from
I think
59?
I think a lot of it's just karma that's meant to be, that you go that why am I in a certain place at a certain time, and why is this picture just there? I've got some objects, and I am a collector. So there are a couple of objects related to the collections. One, I think you have like a Geiger counter. You just have this sense, and you walk into a fair or something, and you go like, "Where is it?" You can hear it. And I was standing in front of this stand at the antique fair that used to take place upstate on Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend. Yeah, and it was two dealers who I'd bought stuff from, so I really liked their taste, and I would have looked at the stand anyway. But I'm standing in front of them, I go like, I know it's here, I know it's here, and I finally just walked to the right a step or two, and there was this memory jar, which is something you find in the South on cemetery gravestones. That's like a coffee can that's been rolled in roofing tar, and then like a big 3D collage. They put stuff into the tar. And on this one, they had put glass eyes and broken up tintypes in which the eyes had been crossed out. I mean, this was so extraordinary in terms of what I react to. It was meant to be, and so it has a pride of place in one of our many bathrooms. But that was, I've been in shows where you go like, oh, when you'd be looking, you can do it with talent too. A lot of times I'll meet an artist and I'll really be taken with them and go, I think you don't have this dialogue, but I know I'm curious. I know I'm sniffing around them because I think that they see things like I do, and sometimes you have to wait until the next body of work, and then you go, ah, there it is. Thank you. I knew it. I knew it was in you. Now you've given it to me. So that's happened. I like talent. And so I'm very happy when one of the reasons that I like them is because we have similar taste. I don't need everybody to be reassuring about my taste. I can fly pretty separate and independent. But anyway, but that's you got to go out and see them too, though. You got to get. I do find stuff online. I mean, I've got all these keywords on. I have all these keywords. Because if you put keyword no eyes, you don't get anything. If you put masked, I don't want masked pictures because masks usually you can see people's eyes. I want like that doesn't keyword so well, but American group, I can keyword that panoramic image. Nobody wants panoramic photos. I got lots of panoramic. I'm in a part of the marketplace that isn't real crowded. So that's fun.
What was the name of that Kodak camera that I wanted to ask you about? I don't know if you.
I don't know that it's Kodak camera, but you want to know about the camera that does a panoramic photograph.
But not the wide lux, not the one that was kind of like mass produced. There was another older camera that Kodak had sent out, like it was back when like the Ford tri-engine, tri-motor aircraft was like there was like 3 of these cameras.
I don't know.
Do you know? You know? Okay, I went looking for it again because when I left it.
I don't make them. I'm thinking that I have a book that's probably about it because some of those cameras were just huge.
Yeah.
And now I can't think of what the book is, and it's in the other room.
It's fine.
Yeah. And also, you know, that's never been my interest in the technical part of it.
That's not driving it.
You can answer a question for me though. So I have during COVID, I started to write a lot because that made sense to get up in the morning and just write something. It's just a cry for help. No. I found that to be very satisfying and satisfactory. And I went, oh, I kind of do this okay. So a lot of those are on my website. But I am the laziest gal in town. Me getting something done I'm just not a closer. But I've been working on some of these things so long that I've actually finished them. I'm just like, I can't believe I've finished. And so I have this one project that I'm very happy with. I've taken the idea of the children's book. I'm going to sneeze in a minute. Anyway.
It's okay.
And there's a children's book called Pat the Bunny. And Pat the Bunny is for pre-reading children. It's to give the child the experience of holding a book, and then the adult shows them, oh, look, you can touch all this stuff in the book. There's like a bunny fur. That's the bunny part. There's a mirror to look at. There's a thing you shake and it makes a noise. And so I really like this book. I think so there I am at Barnes & Noble buying the book, and I have gotten into trouble with this children's section of Barnes & Noble going, laughing too hard. Anyway, so I have this idea for the book, and the book is an adult book suggested by Pat the Bunny about how photographs and how to see them. It's very ironic to me to discover that all the books about looking at photography are about looking at photographs, not about seeing them. They go, well, okay, just take a look and then move on. but I really want the whole sensory, I think, to see, to really appreciate a photograph and have the photograph mean something is a very sensual thing. It's not just your eyes, but it's showing up. And if the picture is really affecting you, it's a very visceral thing. So the title of the book, which I did not very often, I have a statement that I use about photography and the visceral impact it should have. And a friend of mine suggested this is the title. And so the title of the book is Who Knew Your Nipples Could See? Because I believe, well, when I was a dealer, it was like Las Vegas. People would walk in and you'd see them get all excited about a photograph, and you didn't have to ask them if they liked it. You knew they liked it. They were sitting there all sweaty. There's another one that's funny about, I noticed that people's feet will always walk them up to what they like. They'll tell you that they like something over there, that's the classic, that it's over there. But look at their feet, and their feet will be pointing right at what they really, really want.
So why would they use that like misdirect? Like why would they start talking about the picture there if they're actually like staring at what they actually want? Do they not
because
even realize it?
They want to be kind of socially acceptable. They want to walk in and say, "Oh, that Mona Lisa, that's just the most amazing painting ever." But there's the Tintoretto over here that's the one they really like. So taste is, I think people who pursue their taste and try to find out what it is they like, why they like it, or that they like it, that's just great. They're fun. People who, let's go look at this. I like that. I was with an artist the other day, Bill Jacobson by name. You know who that is? Yes?
Yep. Yep.
So, excuse me, we were having a day at the Met, and we had lunch, and then we were going like, okay, I'll show you my favorite. You show me your favorite, and we'll start that. And we immediately got distracted because, among other things, we walked into this installation of Philip Guston paintings in the contemporary section that Bill Jacobson was out of his mind with pleasure. It was so much fun to see somebody that turned on. It's funny because in that very room, many years ago, I was some walkabout, and they had this show that didn't make any sense. I still have no idea what the show was. But in the middle of it was this Bill Brandt portrait of Dubuffet's eye. And I just freaked out. And the irony is, of course, that the eye was wide open, and I was the guy who didn't like eyes wide open, like eyes shut. And I gave somebody a funny quote the other day, which was about like, oh, the people are squeegeeing the museum floor, and they go, he was here again, wasn't he? Because if it's really exciting, the summer day, all I wanted to do was grab somebody and go like, look at this, this is so thrilling, wonderful. But there wasn't anyone to grab, and that's too bad. But I ultimately got a print of it, and it took me 2 years to find one, and about 2 years to pay it off. But that's okay. Great. It's the book I did a book 20 years ago called now I can't even think what it's called. Anyway, the last picture in it is the Bill Brandt, because that's the end of the journey, as it were. It wasn't really the end of the journey, but for the purposes of the book, it's a great photograph. What's your favorite photograph? What's the photograph that made you go wild? if that exists.
Recently, I think the thing that like put me in tears was Irving Penn's cigarette butts. The show was up in San Francisco, and
No, you're right. No, I got you.
I that body of work in general about taking the most mundane piece of trash, not even just a boring object, but taking a cigarette butt and turning it into that pristine, just uh,
He's a good printer, isn't he?
he's like he's also a good printer. Yeah.
I have a sweet story that I haven't told much. I had a neighbor who had been a commercial photographer and had been very successful. And we would, that we'd go have dinner with them, and we just love them. And they're older. And COVID came, and the wife died, and he moved into assisted living up in Riverdale. And we lost track of each other. My fault. I'm adult. If you want to see somebody, call them up. Just don't talk about it. Anyway, I felt bad that we were not in touch. However, I get an email one day from one of the daughters, and I go, "Oh no, we've lost him." And I look at it and I go like, "No." This story actually makes me cry. He had a show opening at the center based on Irving Penn's Small Trades. He'd made full-length portraits of the building staff, and he'd printed them on his desktop printer in his apartment, and they were great. They were so wonderful. I was so excited that he'd done this thing, and he'd had he just pursued it, and it was a great idea, and he pulled it off great. The prints looked terrific. And then he was talking to my partner, and they were having this end of life sort of soulful conversation about, I had a very good life, lovely. I'm married to a wonderful woman for 100 years, and I'm happy. I've had success in my life. I have two wonderful children. It's great. He said, "So whatever, I'm all set." He said, "But now, they've asked me to do another show. So I have to stay alive long enough to do the second show."
Did he?
It's coming up.
Oh, wow.
So Leonard Nones, and he did a book. I said, "Leonard, do a book. It's so easy to do a book now. Just do a book so everybody has this memory, this keepsake." And he did the book. Good for him. So I think that's just, photographers live such long lives so often that it's one of the sweet things in the field that, I've cultivated a friendship with Dwayne Michaels, who's like 94 now. Dwayne is so much fun. He's got the spirit. Oh my God, he makes me laugh. And so we go out to dinner about once every 6 weeks, and he just, it only wants to talk is about sex, which I think that's just great. Good for you. And apparently all I want to talk about is sex too. So it's, two wankers just wanking away. I wrote a book that way, that I did a little, you can publish a book now. This is great. So I did a blurb book called I Heart Dwayne, and it's about knowing Dwayne over the past 30 years, I guess, and the very strange experiences that we've had over the years. And then he let me use his pictures. So it's nice little, if you meet me and want a copy of the book, I'll give you a copy of the book.
I would love that.
It's one of the great things that's happened technologically in the last 25 years, which is You want to do, I do lots of portfolio review, and people used to say, I want, I want to do a book. And you go, well, do the damn book. Just do the damn book and shut up. And you can do the book. I used to do all these panels at the Javits Center, and I would talk about my sister-in-law, who over the years she's probably published 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books. So she's the photographer on her phone, she's the editor, she's the publisher, she's the marketing director, and I think that's great that she has those resources and can do it. And so her grandchildren are all immortalized in these books. Good for her. Do you have books? Have you done books?
Catalogs for shows. I did the I've done a series of them through MagCloud for the projects. I had one anthology book deal that fell through when they said they were going to fund it and then they didn't. And they tried to change it into a Kickstarter, and I was like, no. Or it was more that I was okay doing it as a fundraising situation until they didn't change the percentages.
Oh,
Because my whole understanding is the reason they are taking such a major cut on selling the books is because they're covering the cost
yes.
up front. But if they're not paying for it anymore, then we
Then
need to get this closer to, at least, because my feeling about books with is just generally it's that it is a very expensive, very beautiful promo piece.
yeah.
You don't make any money on them, generally speaking, but it is really good for getting shows with people and sending it to people you want to impress, collectors, museums. Um,
I'll give you another. I'll give you another thing that it can do. So I've done 5 self-published books that are books, where somebody actually, I didn't print it. Somebody else printed it. And I worked with these people called Coventry Books or something that used to be in New Jersey. Now they're still in New Jersey. Anyway, the first one I did, they were about the group photographs. And I had this idea about it. I said, I want to do a little book that's very intimate with these great big pictures. And that's kind of contrary to how these pictures might behave. But I wanted it to be, it's my book. I can do whatever the hell I want. So I did it, and I had a really good assistant named Julianne Nash, whose name I will say out loud because I'm crazy about her. She's a photographer, very good, and she was a closer too. She knew how to finish my stuff for me. So when we had proofed it 150 times and got it all together, and the day I sent off the file, I was, oh my God, that's exactly what I meant. It was exactly what I wanted to send into the world. And the idea of looking for an audience for the book was the least of it. It was the book itself that I just was. I remember writing something once and my sister asking me what onanism was. And I told her what it was. And she went, oh, I thought it might be that. It's self-pleasuring. And so it's completely an onanistic event. But, I get to do that. So heck with you all. I'm going to do my little books and have a lovely time of it. And it's funny because then when the book got printed, and I gave the first copy to my friend Alison Nordstrom, who had written an essay for it. She looks at it, sort of flips it. She looks at me and she says, where's the umlaut in my name?
there was a typo. That was her feedback.
Who the hell knew you had an umlaut in your name? So I actually did a second printing of it, and it has an umlaut in the second.
Oh, you fixed it. Nice of you.
Yeah, that's me.
Allison was at Eastman House at one point, right?
Yep.
That Allison. Yeah.
Now she's in Cambridge of counsel. If you want her to write an essay for you, call her up. She'd be thrilled.
I wanted to curate a show, but she couldn't get her to.
Oh,
Maybe it's an email thing. Maybe I gotta call her.
You should FaceTime her, because people over the age of 65, 67, 68 think FaceTime is just like the best. People who are younger go like, I can't believe your face. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed to know you that you're FaceTime. I love FaceTime. I think FaceTime here. I have all these female friends who go like, please don't FaceTime. I don't have time to get my makeup on.
How many? I think of like 2 different galleries that you were involved in. Were there more than 2 that you ran?
Nope.
Those 2.
Very good, thank you. I was the director of photography at the Rico Maresca Gallery for 10 years. And then we shook off our shackles and became Hasted Hunt. And that lasted for 5 years. And then it was no more. Then it was something else.
Yes. Don't want to go there.
All right.
What was your favorite part about
I
selling pictures?
My favorite part of having a gallery was having a chair in Chelsea that people knew I would be sitting in. So if you wanted to go play with me, I was there and ready to be played with. I loved people coming into the gallery. I showed some really wonderful photographers. I was really happy with the program, and in particular, I can remember showing Ed Bertinsky, and I didn't make the connection with Bertinsky. He came to us and trying to do some homework on him and everything, and finally meeting him, and I loved talking about Bertinsky. I liked the work, and I liked talking about it. And then I liked that he liked what I had to say. And I talked about him pretty well. And I think one of the things that happens when you talk about art, one of the things that I know now that I did not know until I was probably late 30s, it's very personal. And to be a generalist about what you're seeing is not nearly as arresting, as valuable as being specific about just reacting. Well, the thing I'm talking about seeing, and it's a whole body thing. Tell me what you're looking at. That's the deal. And that's the report that I'm going to want to be involved in. I taught for many, many years at SVA, and that's one of the things that I taught was I don't want to hear what anybody else had to say. I want to hear what you have to say. What are you reacting to? And don't try to bluff me. Don't try to snow me. Really be personal. And that was always, when people could do that, that was great. That's what I thought. That was my success as a teacher, when I could get somebody to actually be themselves. And that's hard to do. It's hard to be an artist, because to be a good artist, you don't want to be like anybody else. If you're just a generalist, then that's not nearly so good.
Just blend in with everybody.
It's just like, I want to hear what you have to say, what your response is. It's really been figuring out that I could write has been very satisfying, because I was never raised in an environment where that was going to happen. Just there was no not a lot of encouragement along those lines. But I find that the book I did for Tamsin, The Unseen Eye, I did it for Tamsin Hudson, and then Aperture published it, and Actes Sud published it in France. And the editor was very complimentary about me describing things. And at first I thought she was playing with me. And then I took it more seriously, and I went like, yeah, this is good. This is strong. It doesn't sound like anybody else. So I like that. I like that, being that guy in the art world who has things to say about pictures.
So wait, Unseen Eye was published by somebody else first, and then Aperture picked it up?
They did the American edition. It's an English book. It's a Colour book.
What?
It's all English spellings in the book.
Okay.
In an American book, it would be Color. So it's the same book, different cover.
Okay.
And the French have a different cover too. And they all trash each other about that. They go like, the people
my cover's better than your cover.
That is such a Tamsin Hudson cover. And the people at TNH go like, that is such an Aperture cover. And I totally understand what they're talking about. That they behave differently in the marketplace. That TNH is more sober and more reasoned in book covers. Covers are weird. I can remember this experience of the very first thing that I really had, the thing that I came to any kind of visibility, got any visibility in the art world, was I curated a show called Delirium at Rico Maresca, where I then just stayed and started working there. So I did this show, and then in the course of the show being up, Melissa Harris said, oh, do you want to do one of the quarterly issues of Aperture with Delirium? And I went, yes, of course I do. What? So the pleasure was that I got to recurate it, because I could add words now. And so I got to reconsider it and rethink it. And it was just great, because then you have a legacy too. Then it's in print, and you go like, but then I go to, she says, come on over and see the dummy. So I go over, and she shows me the dummy, and I go, oh my God, this picture on the cover, this is like, no. This is the thing has done something funny. I'm seeing my own face only. Anyway, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay,
can you not see me?
So I did. No, I can't see you now. I just see me, and it's really boring. So I see the cover, and I tell Melissa, no. This is a complete misunderstanding of the show. This photograph wasn't supposed to even be in the show, because it just got in at the last minute. And then she says to me, oh, the marketing people love it. And I go, this is great. This is I now know where in the pecking order the authors sits. And I just hated it, and it was by a friend of mine, and I was, oh my God, what am I going to do? And ultimately, now I really like the cover now. I think the cover's fine. I think the cover actually tells the story pretty well, but I didn't at the time. And so publishing's odd, it's crazy. And so that was Aperture making a choice and telling me, this is what it is, honey.
So, just talking about Rico Maresca. So, did you bring in Niels Slavin?
That's a good question. So, Rico Maresca, whenever this was, I never know when anything happened. Rika Moraska sent me a presentation about Gerald Slota, who was an artist that no one knew, no one had ever heard of. And Gerald had a show with them, and they'd found him, and he'd gotten this review from A.D. Coleman in, God, what did he write for? The Soho something, Soho News? Anyway, it was like a rave. It was like Jesus was making silver prints, and you could see him in Soho. And they were, Roger Rico, Frank Moraska, were unlike any other dealers I'd ever met in the world. They were so different in many, many ways. And I was a real visceral shopper. I walked in and saw something that I wanted, and if I could do the money, I would do it. But this idea of like, I got to call my wife, when I was a dealer, I would actually if someone said I would talk to my wife, I would actually take out my phone and start miming it. And I would go like, she says no. It's just, I just thought it was sort of a dumb answer. Anyway, Rika Moraska were genius with found objects and things that were unique in the world. And they had an eye that was extraordinary. And in my time with them, I learned a lot. And I have a really good eye. And a lot of it was my apprenticeship with them.
So, very nice.
Yeah, and they let me do some crazy stuff. We did some shows that were just great. We did a Stars and Stripes show. They made money. They didn't need the photographs to be the money leader. So I had a lot of latitude.
So there wasn't pressure on you because they had sales coming in through Third Market, and
everybody's got pressure on them, but this was a really ideal situation. We had two galleries when we were in Chelsea. We had a little one and a big one, and very often I was just happy to have the little one and could do. I can remember like doing a contemporary daguerreotype show, like way before everybody else, and before old processes were hot. And I did a show about family pictures that repeat so that like we're going to take little Stevie to see Santa, and then we take his picture when he's 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. I did not find little Stevie with Santa, but that was the premise of the show. And there was one part, I knew about these Christmas cards from the John family in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. And they sent the same Christmas card for 30 years. It was a Leporello accordion style picture thing with the 5 kids and the parents. And it was this amazing chronicle of an American family over 30 years. And I got my hands on 28 of the 30 years. We put that up. And I thought, this is a part of photographic history that needs to be talked about, because it's not a question of the artistic value, it's just the value of life. And so that show was a good show. And there was a woman named Betsy Schneider. And Betsy Schneider had photographed her child every day. Did these like thumbnail pictures of her kid from age 18 months to 4 or 5. And Betsy had gotten into all kinds of trouble with censors because the kid was naked in some of the pictures. And I didn't know any of that, but I just got the pictures and put them up. She did these sheets of thumbnails, and she says to me as she's like leaving, like, I hope you don't run into any trouble with these. But we didn't. And it was just the right kind of thing to show because it made us worth a visit. I wanted the reputation of, oh, let's go see what Bill's got up because it's always a surprise. So that was me as a dealer, trying to surprise people.
We were joking earlier that originally this was going to need to be a two-part series because we weren't going to get through everything. And we are like, I've gotten to like 2 questions and we've got like 5 minutes left. So I did just Mike, I guess my last question for this episode is you've got a show opening in Italy, right?
I do. Thank you. That's nice. What a good seamless transition.
Happy
The
to do it.
the picture that you branded this episode with is a vernacular photograph. Some press photographer in 1920. It's an anti-prohibition rally, which is a good picture of turmoil, I think. So I'm putting together a show that's called Order/Chaos, which is in Latin. That's the motto for the Masons. Well, I didn't know that. I just like the idea of order and chaos. And so trying to put these entertaining photographs, American, and Cortona is run by this photographer, organizer named Paolo Woods, who I've known for a really long time, and he's a good guy, and he kept going like, oh, boo, you got to come to Cortona. I go like, okay, Paolo, you send me that ticket, and I'll come to Cortona. So he's going to send me the ticket, and I'll have a show there, and that begins after Arles, which is the middle of July, yeah. And I guess that's up for. I can actually tell you because I wrote it down. It's July 7th, really, to November 2nd.
Okay, so it overlaps a little bit.
I hope not, because I want to go to both. I better double check. Anyway, that's the date I have written down. July. Oh, anyway. So I don't know anything about it other than they have everybody looks like they're having a good time, drinking wine and eating pasta and sitting on the terrace. And I think because they show reproductions, you send scans and they reproduce them.
Okay.
It has the advantage of they can show them outside. And I like showing photographs outside because then you don't have to it doesn't have to be air conditioned and it doesn't have to be supervised, and people can just encounter the photographs in a very rough way. And I think that's great. I did a show in Poland, in Łódź, Poland, like that once, based on reproductions, and it was just one of the happiest shows I've ever put together because first off, the crew was great, but the windows were wide open and the sun was coming in and everybody was happy, and I liked that. It should be, you don't want to take the delight out of the photos. That's my line. That's one of, I've got lots of lines, but that's one of them.
I think that is a perfect line to wrap this up.
That's why I gave it to you.
It's perfect. Congratulations on the exhibition. Congratulations on all of the books. You have been a huge impact on a lot of photographers' career. I hope you know that.
Can I?
Yeah.
You're welcome to look on my website, which is wmhunt.com. And if you've got some time, go to wmhunt.com/some really good ones. And there are all these little short, not very, well, they're all different lengths, pieces that I wrote beginning during COVID, and then I've kept it up a little bit. And I like them. I think they really offer some ways of thinking about photography.
I will check them out.
Thanks. That's good. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed the conversation. You shared a lot again, and we will have to do it again because, like I said, I've got all these other things we didn't talk about. So
Okay, just talk to my people.
I'll talk to your people. My people will talk to your people.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. See you soon.